Okay, so welcome back to the second video on perspective. So today we're going to look at constructing this staircase. If we read in here, so I'll zoom in as far as I can. I can't actually zoom in any further at the minute. So the plan and section view of the entrance steps are shown. You can see a little image just here. Make a perspective drawing of the steps when the position of the spectator is shown. So we have it down here. And the picture plane touches corner A, and the horizon line is 80mm above the ground line. So I would always recommend, first of all, finding your picture plane. That way you can set up your T-square, and then you can just use your set squares for your projection lines. So first, we're going to join our spectator. I'm going to use a green pen for this, to the outside corners or vertices of our object. So joining them back, and we will find our cone of vision, or angle of vision, whatever you want to call it. We can then find our line of sight by bisecting this angle here. So I'm just going to do that. Have our line of sight there in blue. Now, once I have that, I could really set up my T-square using a set square on top. But just to make it easier, I'm just going to use my parallel set squares to construct my picture plane. I know it touches corner A, so if I have a perpendicular line, I can construct that. My black pen has gone missing. Grab it. And I can extend that further now as well. And the other side. And I have now my picture plane, so I'm just going to label that PP. Now that I have that done, I'm going to set it up using my T-square. And I'll just pause the video, so I'm just going to set it up so that it's parallel, and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, now I've set up my T-square so that it's parallel to my picture plane, and now I can construct my ground line. And your ground line can go anywhere, so I'm just going to construct it just here close to my plan view. I have my ground line GL, and I can construct my horizon line immediately because I know it's 80mm above the ground line. Now I'm not going to construct my horizon line in solid, because sometimes your object will actually come out over it, so I'm just going to leave that as a construction line for now, but label it HL. So I have the elements that I need. I can now actually start constructing the object. The first thing to do is to find point A, or edge A, which will actually be this edge here in your perspective view. So I'm just going to project that up. Because it's already touching the picture plane, I don't need to join it to my spectator, so I can just project that up perpendicular to my picture plane. And because this is touching the picture plane, this is the only line that I can really measure any true lengths on right now. So there's a few ways we can get position to measure true heights, but this is the first one that we're given, so we can actually start here. So I'm going to take the height of this, and usually when you're given something like this, you will use your compass rather than measuring. So take that height, I'm going to measure it off up there, and I have now the first edge. Now we can draw that in solid. Now that is going to vanish over this way somewhere, but I don't know where, and same over here, so we need to find our vanishing line. So we need to come parallel to this edge from our spectator to hit our picture plane. So again, I'm going to use some parallel set squares. Just move my T-square out of the way, and I'm going to line up one edge with my side that I need to come parallel with, and transfer it up. Like that. And then I can also, if I've set this up correctly, yep, I'm already parallel closely. I can now transfer my other edge up. And I found VP1 and VP2 in my plan view. I can then transfer them up and find them in my perspective view, which they will be on the horizon line. So I have now VP1 in its final place and VP2. Then I can start actually vanishing on my line. So I'm going to do this as lightly as possible. So hopefully you can see that. I'm going to zoom in now so you can see a little bit more. And autofocus. There we go. And I'm going to zoom or join the other ground line to VP2. So anything along them two lines will be on the ground as long as they're in line. So for example, if I just drew these, we can see that both of them are on the same edge. So this bottom edge here and this bottom edge here would be all along this bottom line. So to find this other corner here and these two, I'm going to join them back to my spectator. Everything from now on will be mostly in pencil, so hopefully you can see. I know you can't see the spectator right now, but I'm joining them back to my spectator and finding where they cut the picture plane. When I find that, like I've done previously, well actually I haven't done it today, I'm going to transfer them up perpendicular and here and there, so they're parallel to my line of sight. I can then draw in them bottom edges. And if I want to find the front face, which will be these little tiny rectangular faces here, I join this height back to my VP1. I can find them front edges, and I've actually started now forming my object. I'm then going to find this side or this side here of the object. So everything along this line will be on the ground on this edge, so I can find this back corner. So that will be on the ground, basically finding that corner there up here. And now I have that, I can draw it in heavy. And now I need to find this top corner here. So I'm going to take that height, but I can't step it off from here. I have to step it off from my true length line where it touches the picture plane, so point A. I'm going to step it off here, and then I'm going to vanish that back. So everything along this line will be at this height here, so I can find that point and I can find that point. So now, first of all, I found the back top corner, and I can now find this corner here if I vanish it. Or not vanish it, bring it back to my spectator, transfer it up, and it will be on that same line that goes to the vanishing point, because they're at the same height. So I'll just use my vanishing point for alignment, and because I have that point, I know it joins back to point A or this corner here. I've completed one side view of the object. I'm then going to complete this ramp, and I'll just let you watch. So I'm going to vanish any of the lines that go towards VP1, so this line and this line. Because they're horizontal, they're all going to vanish to VP1. Because this line here was actually inclined, so I forgot to mention this line here was inclined, it won't vanish to this point because it's not a horizontal edge or horizontal line. If that was horizontal, like the base line here, then yes, you would vanish it to VP2. But because it's inclined, moving on, we will find what's called an auxiliary vanishing point, which will be up here somewhere. So if I extended it, we will probably find it if it fits on the page. It'd probably be off the page. It's just off the page, so we would find what's called an auxiliary vanishing point way up here. But for now, so you can't really see that, it'd be nearly off the page, and you would see that any line going this way would vanish to that point. In general, now I could actually vanish that there, and it should prove that they should line up. So when I'll just do this for the laughs. So I have this vanishing line now that we don't actually need for now. So this is just me explaining something here. Where these 2 points cross should give me this point. So just to prove it, I'm going to vanish or bring this back to my spectator, find it up here, and hopefully it lines up with that little point just there. So I'm going to bring back this point, move the camera a little bit again, bring this point back to my spectator. Yep. Bring that up, and they're spot on. Actually couldn't have asked for much better. So that's just how auxiliary vanishing points will work, but for now we're just going to use VP1 and VP2. So if we wanted to find that point anyway, we didn't actually need this vanishing point. All we need to do was vanish this corner back to VP1. We have this line that vanishes back. We take our point in plan. Oh, it's after pausing. Okay, so I just had an error recording there. Luckily I spotted it. So what I was talking about is we don't actually need this vanishing point. If we join this back to our VP1, we'll have a horizontal line, so we'll basically have this edge here. If we take this point, bring it back to our spectator, find where it cuts the picture plane, and bring it up, we will find that same point. We can then join the inclined surface to that point, and you'll see that it appears to get smaller as it recedes back further. We can then vanish this point back to our VP2 to find this corner here, so we don't actually need to bring this down and back up at all. And then I can complete that back edge and that front edge, and we have that side of the surface finished. So I'm going to do the same now with the other side, but I'm not going to talk you through it. So if you want to observe, you can observe, but for now I'm just going to do it without speaking. Okay, so I've just finished that little ramp. Hopefully you're able to follow. Now I'm not going to complete this bottom edge because I don't know where it's going to stop just yet, because it's going to stop when it hits that step. So now comes the tricky-ish part. So I need to find where all these steps are in the object, and there's a couple of ways of doing it. So one, we can take the heights and we can step them off here and transfer them around, or we can just find ulterior points or extra alternative points on our picture plane that we can measure along and transfer them back. So that's the way I'm going to do it. So to find the height of this line, so first I'm going to find this edge, or this step, the front of this step, so it'll be this edge here. But I'm going to find this edge down here, so that is going to be a horizontal line that runs along towards VP1. So I'm going to find that first of all, so I have the base of the step. Then I'll find this edge, and I'll be able to complete that first front face of that step then. So first of all, I'm going to take this step here, the plan view, and I'm going to actually extend it to hit my picture plane. Now I actually already have a line that matches this. I already have a point on my picture plane that I can then extend up, and I can measure my heights along this line for this edge only. So I can measure the height of this step. But first of all, most importantly, I have a point that's on the ground now. So I've extended, hit my picture plane, brought it up, so I know that that point can be on my ground line. Bring it up, that point is right there. That's going to vanish the same way this line or this step is facing, and that is a line on the bottom edge of that step. So that's basically that corner and that edge. So I can see that I have a line here that extends, and there's the bottom of my step. That step is then going to come up vertically, but I don't know how high just yet. So I'm going to find my height, and it's just easier for me in this case because I know that that's 10 millimeters. I've already measured it. I'm going to measure up the height of that object. Actually, no, I'll just do it with the compass, just because sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to take that height as accurately as I can, and I'm going to measure it off, this time not on the corner A, on the corner where this point comes up, where I've extended to hit my picture plane, brought it up. That point there now is at 10 millimeters. If I vanish it, everything along this line will be at that height, and I found the top corner of my step, and I can vanish back. And there we go, we have the front of our step. Then if I want to find the flat or the top of my step, so I'm going to vanish back horizontally to get the top of my step, and then to find that point I don't actually need to extend, but I will need to do it for my next step, so I might as well. I could just join this point back to my spectator, find where it cuts the picture plane and bring it back up and find that point there. But for now I'm going to extend to hit my picture plane. Found a point now on my picture plane. If I bring that up, I can get the height of my step. So I'm going to take the height of my step, which will be the front face will be at 10 millimeters, so I can take that again in a second. But for now I'm going to extend this actually so I get an accurate measurement. And take the height of the top of the step first. Oops. Accurately measure it off along this height line. I'll then get the height of my previous step, or the bottom corner of that step, and measure it off here as well. So what I've found, this point here is symbolizing this height, this point here is symbolizing this height, and I just vanish them again like I've done previously. And you'll see now that I've found basically the the inner corner of that first step, bring it up a bit too far. I can find the top of the next step. I can complete that far edge. Hopefully see the step starting to form, so I'm going to repeat that step now with the next two. So now I'm going to extend the next line. Bring it up. Measure my heights. So this time I need to take this height because I'm finding that point. So I'm going to find that correct point. Yep. So there, and the next height. And measure it off. Vanish back. Third step just about complete. And then the last top riser, or the top step, this big long one. I can actually do this one fairly quickly, but I'm just going to do it the way I have been doing it, just so that we can see repetition. So I'm going to extend the top front, or the front of the top step, pardon my language. And I need to extend it to hit the picture plane, not just barely extend it, please. Found where it hits the picture plane. Bring it up. Measure my heights. So I already have the height of the previous one. Oh no, I don't. Must have changed it. So now I have the height for that bottom step, that bottom corner there. Measure the height. I can find that, and I can take, might as well take it from here, just to be more accurate. I took that height, step it off, vanish back, find the bottom edge, top edge. If I vanish back, extend up, and then join back to my vanishing point. And then to find where it hits the back, I just drop down that back corner and extend to hit that, and then vanish that back forward. And there's the object finished. That top step appears a little bit distorted. It's just because as it goes back further, everything starts to appear smaller, but it is correct. Hopefully that made some sense. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.